This is the Professional Hypnotherapist Podcast, session number 0016. Sheila Granger on marketing your hypnotherapy business. Very warm welcome to you. I'm your host, Aidan Noon. Thank you for joining me. There comes a time in life when enough is enough. You know a change has to be made and that things can't keep going the way they've been going. For some, it's about wanting to start something like creating a business, maybe public speaking or even being more outgoing. For others, it may be about quitting something that has been a burden long enough, like smoking, or being overweight, or suffering with stress or anxiety. The good news is that help is at hand, right here, right now. Just visit eaph.ie and find out how you too can start that change process now and harvest that fruit that's yours for the picking. Because this is a process that begins with you taking action now. Each day and every day, all our EAPH member hypnotherapists are constantly helping passionate people, probably just like you, to make change in their lives and in the process save a ton of money. In today's podcast, we hear from internationally renowned clinical hypnotherapist Sheila Granger. Sheila shares with us her many years' experience of building a very successful hypnotherapy practice with connections right throughout the world. Sheila speaks about the importance of building relationships and how that can be achieved using modern technology, tools like video. We hear about her co-authorship with eminent consultant neurologists in a soon-to-be-published series of books. Ever wondered what a bravery pill is? Find out all of this and more in today's Professional Hypnotherapist Podcast. My guest today is probably one of the most highly sought after, ethical and reputable clinical hypnotherapists in the English-speaking world, from the UK to the USA, Canada, Australia and further afield. She has trained over 2,500 hypnotherapists in over 16 countries worldwide. She has featured extensively in the printed media and broadcast media worldwide. Probably best known for her pioneering work in the virtual gastric band, and indeed other pioneering work, and in more recent times, among other things, co-authoring a book on long COVID. She is constantly continuing her research on all matters hypnotherapeutic and with specific applications, and I'm sure soon to be published, and no doubt we will hear more about this in today's podcast. She is dedicated to helping other hypnotherapists to develop themselves and their businesses. Internationally renowned clinical hypnotherapist Sheila Granger, welcome.
Thank you very much, Aidan. That's a great introduction. I think he's talking about somebody who sounds really good. Who is this person? I need to meet this person.
Sheila, you come from, as they say, Hull.
I do, from a place called Hull.
Yeah.
With my accent, people from Hull say they're from Hull. I'm from Hull.
Yes. Now, how has that, coming from Hull or Hull, how has that influenced in terms of how the person that you are today?
How was it influenced? That's a difficult question to start with, isn't it? I think, I came from, the city of Hull. It's actually a fairly deprived city, really. Of course, we've got affluent areas as well. But I do tend to think that, for any of us as hypnotherapists, we have that education piece to do all of the time. Does hypnosis work? Can it work for me? And I suppose I've done my best over a period of time to infiltrate my local city in all different aspects of hypnosis. From businesses to hospitals to the general public. I've even worked with the homeless on confidence, and I love the city where I'm from. It's a great city to be.
Yeah. And even, Sheila, from the get-go, when you started your practice, you seem to have, really shot off from the start and haven't looked back.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, again, I think, obviously behind all of that goes a serious amount of work to make it happen.
Of course.
And I also think that I've been very, some people say that we shouldn't use the word luck, if you like. There's no such thing as luck. It's that some people see opportunities and other people don't see them. And I think, I've just taken a bravery pill from the get-go. That's really what I've done. Just taken a bravery pill. I call it a bravery pill. Mm. And I sometimes refer to, sometimes you've just got to put your big girl's pants on or your big boy's pants on without being too worried about the outcome. I remember my first bravery pill, if you like. I'd, like many of us, I'd done a standard, I suppose, diploma in clinical hypnotherapy. And I used to buy my local newspaper every day. And they call it the Hull Daily Mail. I call it the dull Daily Mail because there's really nothing of great interest in it. But I got the paper. I'd been qualified for 2 weeks, and on the front page of this newspaper was a plea for help. And it was a lady who had hiccuped continuously for about, I think it's about 5 years, something like that. And I don't, to this day, really know what made me do it because I had no background in doing this kind of thing. But I rang the paper up, I rang the journalist who had written the article and said, I'm a hypnotherapist, because I had a certificate that said I was. I think I might be able to help this lady. I'd like to offer her a complimentary session.
Yeah.
And just left it at that. And the following day, this journalist rang me up and said, yeah, we'd like to bring that lady to see you and we'd like to film it for our website. And I thought, no pressure there then. And that night, I thought, okay, where is there a script that's going to tell me what to do with hiccups? Because I can't remember anybody has ever covered this with me on my training. Yeah. And I really just gave it a go. I just used what I knew without being too worried whether, of course, it had the potential to not work, for there not to be an outcome. But, so what if there wasn't? I'd had a go. And what was the worst that was going to happen? The newspaper weren't going to write a follow-up that said, Sheila Granger, cheeky mare, offered a complimentary consultation. Did this work for free? And it didn't work because there would be no news angle, would there?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be news. I couldn't be ethically criticised for it. I didn't think. But what did happen was the lady stopped hiccuping during the session. I don't know to this day, Aidan, what bit I said to her that made the hiccup stop. But anyway, she stopped during the session. And the following day, the newspaper wrote this full-page article on me as a change expert. It's like, how have I become a change expert overnight?
Absolutely. So how lucky was that for you, Sheila? That was excellent.
So that, it was a break, because people reading things like that think, well, I got all these calls saying, well, if you can help that lady do this, I'm sure you can help me do this, this, and this. It got the ball rolling. And just from going out on a little bit of a limb.
Yeah. Now, many people out there, they go through hypnotherapy training, their diploma, and maybe their advanced diplomas, and they're continually going for continual professional development. But some people succeed at it, and others don't. What is the secret elixir, Sheila, in your opinion?
I think as well as because a lot of the time, and I didn't come from any business or marketing background. My day job before falling into this profession, which a lot of us do, we fall into this profession, don't we? And then we get sucked in, and it's like, this is unbelievable. I love this, and we want to do more of it. But we always think we need to know more, and we need to learn more, and development in hypnosis training is important to a degree. I always like to test hypnosis out into new areas and see what I can learn more about. But we have to couple that with learning how to market ourselves and run it as a business. And I think that's where sometimes as an industry we can fall down, because if people don't know about us, which they're not going to if we don't learn how to market ourselves, if people don't know about us, we can't really help anybody. The days of being able to kind of hang your certificate on the wall and put up a one-page website and people naturally book you, those are days gone by, and those days aren't going to come back. And we're all bombarded with so many different messages daily on social media, on email, on advertising. How do we as a hypnotherapist cut through that noise so that somebody actually knows about what it is that we do?
Mm-hmm. And how do we do it then, Sheila?
Well, there's multiple ways to market yourself, absolutely. But I always think go back to the basics. Obviously everything's digital marketing these days, but it's if you forget the digital marketing side of things, because that can become hugely overwhelming for people who are just starting off. But a lot of the time, it's about having conversations with people, getting ourselves out there.
Yeah.
Go to a networking event. Start giving presentations to local groups, and just have conversations with people. That's all I did to start with. I was just have a lot of conversations, and some of those conversations would come to absolutely nothing, and other times it would lead to something. If you offered to, and sometimes I think we have to take the word hypnosis away from it. Not that I shy away from that's exactly what I do, but if I was going to approach a school, for example, can I help the students perform better in an exam situation? If I was to approach them from a point of view of, can I come and hypnotise the kids? They'd be like, absolutely not. No, you cannot do that. Because again, there's so many people who don't have that understanding of what hypnosis is actually about. But if I said to the school, can I come and teach them some mind management techniques so they can perform at their best and so that you can move up the league tables even more with your school, would that be okay? They're like, oh yeah, you can do that. And sometimes we've got to do things, if you like, for free to begin with. There has to be a limit on that, so we need to be paid eventually. But every avenue that I've gone down with it, maybe working in schools or in businesses, working with homeless charities, any situation I've gone into, I've done something complementary to begin with. Sort of kind of showcase the expertise.
Yeah. To what extent, Sheila, is it all about relationships? Because I maintain that people buy from people. It's about building that relationship in such a way that people begin to know, like, and trust you.
Absolutely spot on. These days as well, that word trust is massive. And if in our hypnosis practices, we just think, okay, so what am I going to do today to build trust with people? That might be on my social media, it might be, on LinkedIn posts, it might be when you go networking, or even when we have a inquiry from a client. How can I immediately look to build trust with this person? How can I look to engage them in a relationship that isn't just an email? Because that's not really very personal, is it? These days, video is a big, obviously, medium, and we know that from how many people use YouTube all the time. But even a simple thing, sometimes we're put off doing videos because, oh well, does my hair? I don't like doing videos if my hair's not done properly, etc. Not got my makeup on, do I look all right today? And all those
Yeah.
stand in the way. But or do we need specialist equipment? So we've all got fancy phones these days that we can shoot videos on. So if I get a client inquiry through my website and somebody wants to book sessions, the first thing I want to try and do is ring them up and have a conversation with them as quickly as possible. But if I can't get them on the phone and I've got their mobile number, I will shoot a quick video on my phone and it'll just say, "Hi, Sheila Granger here. I've got your, just to let you know, I've tried to give you a call. I've got your inquiry through my website. Love to have a chat with you about it. I can give you an honest opinion to whether I think hypnosis is the right route for you for a solution."
Yeah.
And I fire that video off. And the whole idea of the video is not to sell the sessions, it's to build the relationship and be able to put eyes on somebody and think, yeah, you're a regular kind of person.
Yes, the human touch, in other words.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, Sheila, if there was one thing that you could change about the hypnotherapy industry, what would it be?
I mean, I love our industry, simply because you can never run out of places to go and work within that scope of practice. So, and I think the one thing is, I think we draw too many comparisons with people, or we'll follow certain people in the industry, and we latch on to one avenue, when really, if we broadened our minds and also looked at what interests us and moving that forward, we would all move forward because of that. Does that make sense, Aidan?
Yeah, it does. It does, and it's also touches on the whole area of that, identifying perhaps a speciality that you could specialize in as a hypnotherapist. In other words, to use the marketing parlance, to identify the pain and offer a solution to that pain.
Yeah, and again, I always think, if we think back to how many things that hypnotherapy can potentially help with, we can almost never run out of ideas to go into. And it's what interests you as an individual, not necessarily a steer of a training course of something that's being offered to you. It's, what interests you as an individual. What do you relate to? And when you take it from that point of view and become really curious about things. So, this year I'm involved with a consultant neurologist, and we're going to be releasing 5 books on what they describe as the big cats of neurology. So, motor neuron disease, muscular dystrophy, Parkinson's. And some people have said to me, "Well, what are you going to write in that book? What are you going to write in that book?" And my immediate response is, "I have absolutely no idea," because until I've sort of got more of a handle on how this affects people, what the mindset is around it, what marginal gains could be created with hypnosis. And I can only do that when I become a lot more curious about each individual subject. But as we know, with any illness, there is an element of mindset attached to it as well. So if we take the word hypnosis away from it and just think about it in terms of mindsets, there will be areas that people can create marginal gains in their life. But I have an interest in neurology. I had some contacts in that area as well, and we've just explored the possibility, and that's really where all this has come about.
Mm-hmm. And to what extent, Sheila, you mentioned about the curious mind and curiosity. To what extent is that been a part of your success story?
Yeah, I think probably quite a big part of it. in that I always have this kind of, well, I'll just see what happens. Well, I'll just see what happens. With the virtual gastric band,
Yeah.
Again, that was a kind of, I'll just see what happens. And again, it's taking bravery pills and being prepared for something not to work as well.
Yeah. And where do I buy those bravery pills, by the way?
So with that, I just went out and I just said, I'd like 25 volunteers, please, for a weight loss program. Nobody's going to have to pay me any money. Well, there's always people who want to lose weight. So that, I got a stampede of people. I belonged to a networking group as well at the time. So I could ask them if they knew anybody who would like to take part in this, these sessions. And, again, another bravery pill. I contacted the media and said that I was doing this trial. Would they like to come and independently verify the results that I got? And, again, I was lucky it worked. It may not have worked as well, but, 23 out of 25 had positive results. And as a result, there was national press on it, and I went on the television, and they went to talk to the gastric surgeons, and all this kind of came on the back of it. But it was just a case of, well, I'll just see what happens.
Yeah,
Let's see if it does work.
Sheila, to what extent? Why are you so passionate about what you do?
I think we can all remember those cases where somebody says to you, "You have completely changed my life."
Yeah.
Because there's clients that we sometimes work with where we don't necessarily get the result that we would have hoped for whatever reason that may have been.
Yeah.
And there's multiple reasons, of course, why that might be the case. And we always have times as well, either the client sessions haven't gone as well, we might not be getting the client inquiries, going through a little bit of a rough period. But I always take that back every time to those cases where you did make a difference.
Yeah.
Those people who said, you've completely changed my life. And those are the drivers that drive you forward all the time. And I always think, well, what if I could do that?
Yeah.
And I think the more you ponder the, well, what if I could though? Again, without being too attached to the outcome, then things start to just happen.
Mm-hmm. And in many instances, I believe, Sheila, that you don't hear about the successes that you have with clients because some clients prefer not to give any feedback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it is only you that knows about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some clients are willing to perhaps do you a Google review, or some might be as willing to go to a video testimonial, or even, be a quote in a press release or something that you send out. But yeah, there's a lot of clients as well who only you and them know about. You've been a big part of their life, and I think it's quite an honour to have been able to do that work with them.
Mm-hmm. And there have been huge success stories, and indeed transformative success stories with many clients, I'm sure, and through my own experience and speaking with other hypnotherapists, some of the results have been phenomenal. Now, Sheila, with all your success and all your drive, if you could have one superpower, what would that be?
More years to live. And I do think now, I came into this profession, I'm 55 years old now, and I've been in this profession for 13 years now, 12 years full time. And I just think, why didn't I do this when I was 30? Why didn't I get into this when I was 30? But the good thing is about our profession, I think, is that, you don't have to retire from it. I'm lucky. I get to talk to hypnotherapists all around the world, and there's a lady in Australia, and she's in her 80s, and she still
Yeah.
sees clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's one of those professions where really we don't have to stop.
No.
We don't have to stop at a certain point.
I recall speaking with a lady recently, a hypnotherapist here in Ireland, and I said to her, "When are you going to retire?" And she says, "Never. As long as if they can wheel me in a chair and I'm able to speak, I'll continue doing my work."
Yeah, exactly. And there's been many a time that, I have a very weird autoimmune thing called myasthenia gravis, which occasionally raises its head and knocks me off my feet. But I get back up from that, I think, a lot quicker than perhaps somebody else who has the same thing because of that drive to get back to doing what I want to do. I've got a why, I've got a motivator.
Now, how do you want to be remembered, Sheila?
How do I want to be remembered? Um, I'd like to think that I've made a difference on this planet.
Yeah.
And yeah, if I
Not that you're going anywhere yet, but I'm just asking.
yes. I think I like to think that I give other people a leg up wherever possible. And if that was written on my gravestone, she gave other people a leg up, then I'd be quite happy with that.
Uh-huh. Great. Now, all your success, you've done work and coming up with the establishing the virtual gastric band. You do hypnotherapy for smoking cessation. You also get behind other hypnotherapists. You have a hypnosis growth club. Tell us about that.
Yeah, and the growth club's an interesting one because I didn't suddenly decide one day to kind of, set up a growth club for hypnotherapists. What had happened was when COVID first hit, I did know that a lot of because we tend to be fairly notoriously bad as an industry at marketing ourselves, or learning how to do it. Um, I'd felt a lot of there may be quite a lot of hypnotherapists who businesses would literally fall off a cliff when COVID hit and we all had to go online. So I thought, well, what can I do to help with that? And so I actually went out and did a 12-week marketing program. And there was 160 hypnotherapists from all around the world joined me on that and made it really low cost, so it was affordable for people. And every week I gave them new training material, pre-written blogs, pre-written press releases, promotional videos that they could use to get them into this consistent habit of doing things every week. And we made it highly relevant to what was happening in the world, so anxiety or how people were being impacted by COVID. And this kind of ran for 12 weeks, and there was hypnotherapists in all four corners of the globe who got themselves in a local newspaper, who got their article, got to go and talk on the radio stations. It really impacted on their businesses. And I really only intended to do the 12 weeks, and that was it. And then at the end of the 12 weeks, so many of them said to me, "Oh, Sheila, we really like meeting up. It's that we've got a fantastic community here. We all really get on with each other. We want to carry on doing it. What can we do going forward?" So that's when it kind of morphed into this Hypnosis Growth Club where, we have I provide weekly business lessons and for all aspects of the hypnosis practice.
Now, in many ways, Sheila, you have broken the mold. You've mentioned there about, the COVID. In fact, I think it's true to say that during COVID, you actually increased your business.
Yes, so my business increased. My business increased by 46% during COVID.
That's a phenomenal statistic. How did you do that?
Well, again, it was from, I think if we just we should always work from a place of, I'm just going to see if I can help people. I'm just going to see if I can help more people. And by being seen to be helpful, so putting out helpful content, things that, sending to my local press with downloads that people could use during COVID might be on anxiety, it might have been on some free sessions for something, just being seen to be helpful. The more we are helpful, the more people that will remember us, the more people that will eventually will buy something from you and want something as a personal session. Eventually it leads to the opportunities.
Yeah, indeed. And those opportunities present themselves in many, many times during the day. So what advice would you give to a person who is just joining the hypnotherapy profession? What advice would you give them?
I would say, the number one thing is that we have to get ourselves out there in some way. And we all think that, okay, I've got to go out and sort of, advertise hypnosis, smoking, weight loss, alcohol, all of those things. And we think, we've got to go and find somebody new all the time. And often when we're starting off, we forget about people we already know from a previous job, from a previous day job. So, I was talking to a lady recently whose, background is in working in the corporate world, working with lots of different businesses. So I said, I'm sure there's people then from your previous day job that you're still in touch with, the kind of people that you could almost just ring up, almost like a cup of coffee chat, not a sales pitch, just a cup of coffee chat. And I said, and why don't you ring some of those people up and offer to, could you do some stress relief sessions for staff? Could you, that would benefit their organisation? Would that be a useful thing? And from those conversations, opportunities will come.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Excellent ideas, Sheila. Now, if there were any books that you could recommend, what would they be?
Well, I started off by buying the Big Red Book. What is the Big Red Book? I can't remember what it's called. Croydon and is it Croydon and
Hammond, is it? Hammond.
Croydon and Hammond, yes. The Big Red Book. Because the reason that I liked that book so much is, we all know that we shouldn't read scripts to people. We know that. But what scripts can be really good for is generating creativity in our own mind or giving us ideas. We've all got to have a starting point, haven't we, really? Yeah. And that is full of some really great ideas. Another book that I would recommend, if you give me one second.
Sure. Take your time.
And this particular book, I actually had it took it off my bookshelf the other day for flicking through for different things. It's quite a big book, and it's called The Handbook of Medical and Psychological Hypnosis. And it's a guy called Gary Elkins. Foundations, Applications and Professional Issues.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
And that's got some really useful thing backed up with references. I'm one of these who's like, well, what's the evidence behind that?
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And, so if somebody tells me, well, this works, well, why does it work? And what's the evidence behind the fact that it does?
Yeah, excellent. So, Sheila, how can we contact you?
Yeah, so people can either contact me through my website, which is www.sheilagranger.com. I'm also on Facebook. Facebook, to be honest with you, better off through my personal Facebook page, which is actually Sheila Granger. I'm not called. Well, I haven't called Sheila Granger, but I'm not. That isn't what people call me. It's just simply I've swapped over my personal page to a business page. So, of course, to get another personal page, I had to call it something else. Which is how that came about. Right. But, if people either connect with me on Facebook, send me a friend request, because I do put on as many webinars as I possibly can to help other hypnotherapists. They're always complimentary of the webinars. And, over the next year, there's going to be at least a webinar a month on different aspects. So if people find me on Facebook, they'll see the invitations to the webinars as well. Yeah, plus also, I do like to make myself as available as possible to help other people. So, if there's somebody listening to this thinks, I could really just do with a one-to-one Zoom with you to brainstorm something, I'm always open to doing that. It doesn't cost anything, you're not sold anything. It's purely, if I can give somebody else a leg up, I would do.
Well, that's very generous of you, Sheila. So thank you so much for speaking with me today on the Professional Hypnotherapists Podcast. That was internationally renowned clinical hypnotherapist Sheila Granger. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you, Aidan. Thank you so much.
Once again, thank you for joining me on the Professional Hypnotherapists Podcast. I do hope you've received some benefit. Until next time, please check out eaph.ie.